I think we're on the air, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Explaining the Unexplainable. I'm co host Bishop Joshua with my wonderful co host, Miss Mercedes Lucky Benedict, and our wonderful guest tonight, Dr. Adrian Finkelstein. Welcome to the program tonight.
I was caught off guard. So I was thinking we weren't on yet, but I'm so glad we are on. And thank you, Dr. Finkelstein, well, I call you Dr. Adrian, for being on with us today. We're so excited to have you on.
Yes,
Oh,
we are.
thank you so much. I'm excited too. So we're triply excited.
Yeah.
I
And
hope.
well, and thank you everyone that's watching. I know we've got Lady Warrior, Marie is coming to be watching. Hopefully, some other people are going to show up really quickly on the chat now that they know we're on. And my esteemed co-host Bishop Joshua, could you please do a wonderful introduction for our incredible guest?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an honor. Well, welcome, everyone, to another episode of Explaining the Unexplainable, where we pull back the curtain on the mysteries that lie just beyond the edges of science and spirituality. I'm your co host, Bishop Joshua, joined by, of course, my brilliant co host, Mercedes Lucky Benedict. And today we have a very special guest whose work sits right at the crossroads of medicine, psychology, and the mysteries of human consciousness. Dr. Adrian Finklestein is a world renowned psychiatrist, medical doctor, and author whose groundbreaking research has challenged conventional thinking and stirred worldwide conversation. He's the author of compelling works such as Your Past Lives and the Healing Process, The Case for Reincarnation, and his celebrated biography, Marilyn Monroe, the biography. And if I said that name wrong, Dr. Adrian, please forgive me because I had a million things running through my head today when I was wanting to put this together because there's just so much that can be said about you. But your books have sparked intriguing discussion about the intersection of identity, memory, and the human soul. And over decades of clinical work, you've explored the depths of the subconscious through hypnosis, helping patients uncover hidden trauma, unresolved emotional wounds, and in some cases, vivid recollection of what appear to be past lives. He has served both as a healer and a researcher, blending rigorous psychiatric expertise with an openness to the spiritual dimension of the human experience. His career invites us to ask daring questions. If the mind can remember beyond this lifetime, what does that tell us about the nature of consciousness? If reincarnation is real, how might it change the way we approach healing, forgiveness, and even our place in history? And how do we distinguish between memory, imagination, and a genuine echo from another existence? Tonight, we're diving deep into these questions and more. Dr. Finkelstein, we are honored to have you here. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, in your decades of psychiatric practice, what first opened the door for you to seriously investigate past life regression? And from there, how have you come to interpret what these experiences reveal about the continuity of the human spirit?
Well, I always believe that small things count, and in our everyday life. Um, uh, I mentioned that in other interviews that I started at a very early age. I was around 5 year old, and uh, I I just had an experience during the Second World War when our house was destroyed by bomb, and I visited with my father. Uh, from the shelter they built themselves, him and my uncle, and I saw a crater of the bomb, a huge one. At the bottom of it, I saw a little pig carbonized, and I said, "What is that? Why is it black?" He said, "Well, he's carbonized, and he died." And when I said, "Dad, what is that death?" And he said, "Well, it people die when they get old. Usually, animals die when it's a war. You see this. That's happened to the little pig, the piglet. So, and as we grow older, we get white hair, and that's a sign we're approaching the end of our lives, and we die." So that was the answer of my father. It didn't satisfy me at all. So I I uh, I was thinking about it, and then I noticed that they have some white hair. My parents, though they were young, because I was young too. But said, "Whoa, but when you'll have a lot of hair that will be white, you're gonna die." So I said, "I don't want you to die." So I think they encouraged me. No, we'll have a long time and everything, and we love you, no problem. So no, for me it was a problem. So um, I ruminated, and I'm a ruminating guy. So I started ruminating and ruminating on it and asking questions until my father got sick about it. At one point, my father was showing me to me pictures of actors from Hollywood. Um, he tried to scare me with Boris Karloff that played in horror movies, and and also he showed me other Gary Cooper um, and he liked very much Gary Cooper for some reason. Anyway, and the females actresses and it's interesting. He showed me Marilyn Monroe. She showed me Jean Harlow, and many others. So to make a long story short, when I saw the picture of Jean Harlow, I was 5. Ah, the platinum blonde, and said, "Dad, I'm gonna make pictures myself. I'm gonna make films myself. I've done film. I've done movies." And he said, "What movies?" And I showed him. I had a box made of cardboard, and I put an electrical bulb there, and I was projecting the family pictures on the wall. And he said, "Oh, that's very dangerous. The cardboard may catch on fire." So I said, "Well, look, Dad, I did that before. I did it." So he said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, don't you show me all these pictures with actors and actresses?" And I said, and he said, "Yes." So I've done it before. I know Jean Harlow. I know Jean Harlow so well. And then my father laughed and said, "Oh, come on. What are you talking about? So don't do that. You're going to set the house on fire." So anyway, he didn't understand, but um, well, that was my start. And then later on, I discovered through my under hypnosis and otherwise, and from thousands of uh, volunteers in my project of reincarnation, when I became a doctor, a medical doctor, I wasn't satisfied with everything they are explaining, and I want to know the spiritual part of our life. So I found out that yeah, there's more to us than surgeons can remove, as the song goes. And I found out several cases uh, of young children and that would remember their past life under not deep hypnosis, but just being relaxed. And one of them was uh, little Sarah, and she told me. I said she was always talking about all sort of things about Mexico, and I didn't know. The parents wanted to know why is she so obsessed by that. So I relaxed her and I told her, imagine, let's pretend that you lived before and you were in another life. Do you want to play this game? So she said, yeah. So she closed her eyes as I requested her to do. She was in a safe place. And then she started talking. In this life, she was Jewish. But in a previous life that she discovered, she revealed to me she was Catholic. So she was born in Tala, Mexico. And I asked her, "What's your name?" And her name was Sarah, but she said, "No, my name is Paula." When she said Paula, she was born in an American Jewish family. I mean, they don't know, they didn't speak Spanish or anything. So the way she pronounced, instead of Paula, she said Paula. That struck me the first thing. Then I decided to go with my wife and to research to see what's going on. I went to Tala, Mexico, where she said she was living, and she told me a lot of things from that life. She was 24-year-old doing charo, and I said, "What is charo?" I said, "Well, this is riding horses. It's a race for a woman, and where is that in Jalisco?" And I said, "Well, and what do you do? Where do you go?" "Oh, we are riding there by the lake." And I said, "What lake?" "Lake Chapala." And I said, "Well, uh, so what's happening?" Every time I urge people under this state to tell me what's next, what's next. So, so she said, "Well, I'm riding the horse and I'm by the lake, and all of after she told me a lot of details like how to prepare tequila, which I verified later on in a book of specialty. She was correct. Uh, she told me about the name of the president, Benito Juarez. She really got into a lot of details, probably 30 or more details that are very specific. What kind of money they used, the game Bocca that came from the Italian game Bocci, that the Italians brought to Mexico in the 19th century, and the game was basically a rudimentary children's games that would imitate that bocce, but they would push with a stick a ball, and whoever would be able to the other one would push back. So whoever would push the ball in the other court would score a point or something like that. Anyway, um, so these very specific things that I mean, a little Jewish girl would not know. So then I asked her, "When were you born?" You say you're 24, but you were only 6 year old. So what? Tell me. uh, Oh no, I'm not. I'm 24. She said, and my name. I because I also contested her name. She says, "No, no, my name is Paula." So, um, so basically, she told me a lot of details. So now, uh, while riding the horse, she bumped into some big boulder or something, and I mean, not she, but the horse. So, and she was thrown out of the horse and hit her head, and this is the way she died. By the way, I asked her, "How comes you?" She said she's Catholic and all this, and I said, "Why do you go to Charo? Why do you do these things?" And said, "Because I want to help my family. We're very poor, and I get a lot of money when I ride these horses." So, um, how comes you came as Jewish when you were Catholic? And she said, "Well, because I was sick and tired of being poor." And she came to a Jewish family. They thought that Jewish people, just because of being Jewish, they are rich. But between you and me, being Jewish, I know that my family was very poor. So anyway, my My father used to be in at the communist Romania. He was very smart and he was like Don Rickles, he liked to joke, and uh, he was very good at that. So I think he just got his way to the top there in the Communist Party, and he became general inspector of all the fisheries in Romania. So, and he was very tough. He had a police attitude. Whoever wasn't honest, he would fire. All these directors of fisheries, where he was traveling in Romania, and he got a lot of enemies. So in the end, they threw him out of uh, the Communist Party and of his job and everything, because there was a lot of anti-Semitism there, and they didn't like it. They couldn't continue with their crookery, and so my father started working in a rubber factory, like you know uh, Clark Gable in a movie. It's a movie that he made. It's so he worked in rubber, and but he was very good at that too. He was the first with a you know in line in achieving everything. But anyway, I'll stop here, but I don't want to get too much into that. But that's the way I start. This is my start with reincarnation, and I found out that after hypnotizing about 700 volunteers. And finding out so many data, I have enough to write books. So I wrote several books. Two of them, the first ones, um, uh, your past lives and the healing process. A psychiatrist looks at reincarnation and spiritual healing. You can find it in Amazon. The other one is uh, a psychiatrist search for God. Um, these two books I showed to Sheila McLean, that I think she called me once for a healing and with hypnosis at her home in Malibu. So uh, but it wasn't healing. It was something. She had just an issue. She had to go dancing in Atlantic City, and her back was hurting. So I worked on her back, like I guess Mercedes does sometimes. But so and she went and she danced. So she thanked me and paid me $500. But anyway, so I became rich from her. But anyway, she she's a nice lady, and I discussed with her. We're on the same team because she believes in reincarnation. I believe too now. I started researching reincarnation, but I will stop here because you have questions, and that's my beginnings. I um, I think that this is a fascinating subject. I looked about the history of that. Oh, by the way, after this show on the 20th, I'm going to give a show similar with slides about my work. I cannot give it here with the slides, but to the doctors at Cedar Sinai Medical Center.
Oh, wow.
They invited me 3 times in the last years, and they wanted again for the same subject. So doctors become interested in reincarnation. Very interesting.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good.
Well, he's inspired. You've inspired me. We talked about this last year, but I am getting ready to go be certified in hypnotherapy, past life regression. Throughout history, humans have been haunted by one profound question, Dr. Adrian: what happens when we die? For some, death is the final chapter, an ending. But for others, it's simply a page turn in a much greater story. And across cultures and centuries, stories have emerged of souls returning to new bodies, and memories lingering from lifetimes long gone, and identities that seem to transcend a single birth and death. And these aren't just mystical tales whispered around campfires. They're experiences that people claim to have lived, remembered, in some cases proven, like you proven about Paola. That's a very powerful story, and I've heard you tell it before, but it's worth telling many, many times over. And in my research, I found that past life regression, a process often guided through hypnosis, has become one of the most intriguing tools for exploring these claims. And by gently bypassing the conscious mind, it seeks to uncover hidden memories stored deep in the subconscious, and memories that may not belong to this lifetime at all. And if those memories are real, they may not only shed light on our spiritual journey, but also offer powerful avenues for healing trauma, resolving deep seated fears, and understanding the very fabric of our identity. But here's the critical question, and it's the question that many critics that I've talked to over the past 30 years have told me or have asked. The critical question is: are these memories actual glimpses into past lives, or are they elaborate constructions of the mind? Can science verify such experiences, and do they forever remain in the realm of the mystical? And if reincarnation is indeed real, how does it reshape our understanding of mortality, justice, and even the purpose of life? Um, so,
Perfect questions. Yeah, I think that first of all, we are 8 billion people in the world with 8 billion philosophies, opinions that are different, like our fingers and of of the hand. So fingerprints, I mean. So I guess under these circumstances, you can understand that there will be a lot of controversy in anything we do in this world. That's not exception when we talk about reincarnation, but mentioning the word of Paula, that little girl, 6-year-old. I went with my wife to Tala, Mexico, where she lived in the previous life with Sarah, and everything she said was correct, including her birthday certificate, with the birthday that was uh, February 4th, 1862. And she lived 24 years, so 1862 plus 24 is 1886, right? And I asked her under that quasi trance, how come she came, to a Jewish family. I told you before, but and how long it took, and she didn't hesitate, didn't deliberate. She said 86 years, and then I added 86 years to 1886, and it gave me 1972 when she was born, Sarah, in this life.
I mean, and how would a little child be able to make that up while under hypnosis if there wasn't some validity to it?
And I'm not alone in that. Dr. Ian Stevenson from Virginia School of Medicine has a lot of cases like that. And he opened the department of parapsychology there. And, little children remembering their lives, a little boy remembering being a pilot in the U.S. Air Force. I mean, and he remembered every detail. So how these children make it up, I don't know. So, as I said before, we're 8 billion people with 8 billion different fingerprints, but we have also a lot in common. First of all, God created the numerical order. That's the creation. It's a book of superior calculus mathematics, but everything has a number. Everything is ordered. So, and I think that he decided, God, to bring us together, to unify us, to find a common denominator to his fractions of mathematics, and that's loving God. That's love, divine love, without limitation, like Christ's love. And we are unified already there. We're so different. That's why there are clashes of souls in the world, because we don't see eye to eye because of the differences in the maturity of our soul, how many times we came here to reincarnate like in school, how many classes we got to train our soul to be mature. In other words, the intelligence, IQ, is not everything to go to Mars or to the moon. That's intelligence. We need also uh, understanding and wisdom, that are acquired only through experience. And maturing experiences cannot occur usually in one lifetime. I read about Constantine and Theodora, the emperors, in 325 AD. They had the first council of Nicaea in Greece, and they decided, because in the old scroll, by the way, the old scrolls still lay there in Reagan's library in Simi Valley, California, until the 2nd of September this year. So I'm planning to go there to see them. But anyway, um, what Constantine and Theodora did at that council of Nicaea, in other words, 3,300 years ago, he they removed anything in the scrolls that had to do, they edited the Bible. So anything that had to do with Christ doing the spiritual healings in so many lands, in the reincarnation, were deleted completely. Only here and there you see some uh, cues, but no, they deleted. The same thing they did with the Old Testament, not only the New Testament, but not as much. So Kabbalah arises mostly, and I think Jesus was a Kabbalist himself, but he was a Jew, he was in Israel, so I assume he was, but he wasn't interested to spread the idea of reincarnation, but to make through his miraculous healings people to believe in God, that there's a great God there. How comes that this man that's old and blind is blind? What's the reason? Did he sin before? That was the question of the disciples, and then you know that Bishop Spark. You know that the answer wasn't that because they reincarnate. Jesus said because to reveal the greatness of God, and so forth. But the truth is that that's what Constantine and Theodora did. Why did they do it? Because uh, that was convenient for them as rulers to disempower rather than empower, as we do, um, as I do with my patients. Disempower people, make them feel weak, sick when they get old, and die. So nothing to look forward to anticipate. So it's like setting in a depression, especially towards the end of life. I'm 87. So at 87, I may think, oh, any second, even now, I may die. So, so I don't want to do that. I think that it's a negative mindset, and we self-defeating, and we have to develop a victory, self-victory mindset, not self-defeating mindset. But as I said before, a lot of people would not agree with me with the concept of reincarnation. That's fine. I don't care. I was in CNN. I was in all the big television shows, BBC, MSNBC. I was in Coast to Coast, everything. But, there are people that understand, others that don't. The psychic of Shirley MacLaine, that appeared with her in Out on the Limb film, Kevin Ryerson. I asked him, he's a friend of mine. I said, how comes, there are so many people don't believe, what do I do? And he's a very wise man. He said, Adrian, don't worry about them. Go to those that believe. And there are plenty, because there are about three-quarters of the world that believe in reincarnation, maybe less, maybe half, but it's still enough. So I guess that's what I've been doing.
That's amazing. Um, and so, Dr. Adrian, when you were a little boy and you were talking about when you were telling your dad that you had made films before, were you like 6 years old then, or were you older?
I was about 5.
Oh my gosh. So I must have missed that part of the story. I think that's the first
Oh,
time
it appears in my screenplay. I didn't put it there. It appears in my screenplay. I have a
wow.
screen in that.
So that's amazing right then. And so when could you talk a little bit about the different productions that you've made movies and you've done a lot of productions, and that's what you were talking about on the BBC and different programs. Could you talk about the work you did and how you brought it into be a film
Well,
or tell it or
that's a
a
very good
production?
question. There was a psychologist, Dr. Globe, that Dominic Globe, that I hired from the Institute of Past Life Regression Therapy, International Institute, and she helped me in the Valley of Franich. My friend, that is my friend now, and close to my heart, and she heard about my work with Marilyn Monroe of Reincarnated. I was in CNN and MSNBC and BBC and Geraldo Rivera. I mean, so she heard about the Coast to Coast. So she heard about that, and she said, "Well, I don't believe in that, Valerie." So then she heard it from 3 consecutive psychics during a period of about 3 years, and that she should go to me because she may be one of the great actresses of Hollywood. And uh, but she didn't want to go. So the third time she called me, I was in Paris, uh, talking with a guy that is King Louis XIV reincarnated, um, and he was in a meeting with the chairman of China at the time. So he talked with me on the phone. I couldn't reach him, but I was the doctor of Antoine Daquin, the famous Roi du Soleil of of France, and for 23 years I was his doctor. So I asked also the psychic of Sheila MacLaine, and he's a trans channeler. He says, "Yeah, you were there," and he confirmed. But I didn't tell him that. He told me, unbeknownst to him, that I was there at the court of King Louis XIV. So
Oh,
I talked with this guy, Robert DeVos is his name now. He's the head of a university in Belgium, that is a university of business. He's a very rich man. So he was meeting with the president of, I mean, the chairman of China at the time. It was before Xi Jinping. And by the way, Xi Jinping has a niece, by the way of, I want to, and she came to me in Malibu with her husband, a Jewish guy that was her businessman from England, and Daniel Defoe, and I hypnotized um, um, I hypnotized her into past life. This is what she wanted. She spoke fluent English, better than me. So I guess in China they raised her at Oxford and everywhere. She knew good English. So, but Hugh Ng was her name. Hugh Ng. If you look, you Google her, you'll see she's a billionaire. Her father, the brother of Xi Jinping, is the brother of Xi Jinping is the head of the biggest uh, telephone cellular telephone companies in Beijing.
Okay.
And they invited me and my wife, but my friend, the psychic Kevin Rice, said, "Don't go there." So don't go there. So to regress these Communist Party members because it's not a good idea. So I guess so I didn't. But they invited me and my wife, and when she was here, she took us to the Four Season Hotel and gave us a lot of cake. She was a little bit heavy set, but she was a nice girl, Xu Jinping. But since her uncle became the president, probably she got orders not to continuous contacts for I don't know their calculations. So, but anyway, that's another story, you know. So I guess there's story in story in story. I don't know. We don't have enough time here, but I want to come back to what you said, Dr. Joshua, and that's how you can be at unison besides being with God Almighty, the loving, divine love, by having common interests. When you have common interests with your spouse, you have a better marriage. When you have a common interest in any subject, you know, it's true. We have to be all in the world, 8 billion united through God, but practically, people choose to be in groups that are similar in their interests, right? So and they clash. So um, it's not enough, and then it's another factor, the factor of maturity of the soul. They say, oh, Scorpion, Cancer astrologically match because they are both water signs, or Scorpio, Scorpio, or Taurus and Capricorn, or because they are earth signs, or I don't know, or Leo and Aries because they are fire signs. But there is something in that. They may make a group, but it's not enough. The main thing that people, politicians, and religious people should know is the age of the soul, because the more mature the soul of a spouse than the other, the more discordance there is there. If there is a difference of 6 months in age of the soul, it's enough to get a divorce, you know, because they don't see eye to eye. It's like you take a 3-year-old child with a 4-year-old child and you put them together to play, you'll see that the big one, the 4-year-old, wants to be the boss. The 3-year-old starts screaming. The 4-year-old puts the foot down. The 3-year-old screams louder. And the same thing, because the chronological age that we have says nothing. Uh, we are born with a soul that matured over lifetimes, and the scale of the soul age in terms of behavior and everything. Many the psychologists would know all the qualities of people, of children from 1 to 7. Now 7 would be Jesus Christ or Moses or Buddha, or people like that. But here in this society we live in, it's about 3.5-year old. But 3.5-year old is still okay, because before 3-year old, we do everything blindly. After 3-year old, we start questioning. You know, why we become a pain in the neck. So so we want to know. And a 103-year-old man was asked, "How comes you're 103? How do you get here?" He said, "Because I want to know what's going on." So, um, so that's basically very interesting and true. So to come back, what is most important that we can take from reincarnation is not only the therapeutic effect by knowing the age levels and stabilizing them, but they are different. There are clashes of souls. Love, divine love, may erase them. That's true. education in schools and laws, and by the attorney general uh, manipulating or handling whatever, that these laws are decent laws that come from the Ten Commandments of God. So we discussed that in other situations similar. So I think God, loving God is good, and you loving each other, regardless of the difference in age of the subconscious or the soul, uh, it's fine. But it doesn't. You have to put a lot of effort, and it sometimes doesn't work. There is a divorce. So that's why there are so many divorces here, because in this country you find people with quite high level of development of their soul. So the people that come here from the third world countries, they are good people, as intelligent as us, but they don't have as much understanding, some of them, because they have their cultures that you know confine them and force them, and it's not free speech like here. Okay, I
You know,
stop.
while you was talking, it reminded me of a song that Toby Keith done before he died, and it's part of the chorus. It says, "Many moons I have lived, my body's withered and worn. Ask yourself how old you would be if you didn't know the day you were born." And that's so beautiful. Those lyrics are. I mean, when you're talking about so this cycle, this reincarnation cycle, Dr. Adrian, does it ever end? Is it something that's ongoing for time immortal?
Well, I'll tell you something. Some people, I respect them. Like, we work in a panel, and I respect their beliefs, and they believe that they go straight after death to the Garden of Eden, to with God, and that's possible. I don't say I know. I don't know anything. As a matter of fact, that's what I discovered throughout my life, that I know nothing. So, what I'm saying is, but logically, I'm thinking in terms, and many people like me think this way, that hey, if it is somebody like I don't know, like Hitler, and he he killed so many people, and is such a monster, and he's going straight to Garden of Eden, to God. I don't think so. I think that there are three laws of reincarnation: consequences, or karma, a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye. It's a continuation. You continue to learn something, to mature in your soul. And compensation, that you compensate what you did wrong before, you do it right now. So you have these three laws, and I think that uh, after a number of such gilgulim, as we call them in Hebrew, or reincarnation cycles, your soul matures enough, and you are ready to really end up at the level with God there. But meanwhile, is nine, not 10. 10 is God. Nine in Hebrew is the numerology, numerical order for reincarnation, Gilgul. So you have to come many times to learn. Some people are lucky enough to, in one life, to learn from me, or from others like me, or from somebody hopefully better than me, that and obviously from God, directly from God, and they make it in 1, 2, 3 lives. They are already in the Garden of Eden with God. I'm not that smart, so I am not that advanced. I think um, I I think I probably am somewhere, but I'm I'm trying. I'm trying hard to help people. I want to help people to, to be empowered, because this is a depression in the end of their lives, to think, oh, this is the dead end. It's not only me dead, it's a dead end, and the dead end, and me dead. I mean, no, we don't die. It's like the week. There are 6 days of work, and then the seventh you rest. The rest is like death. But then it's another week and another week and another week and another week. And this is the way we go. And there are 52 weeks. 5 plus 2, 7. Again, a perfect number, like of the week. Nothing is for nothing. God created everything in numerical order, very precise. Nothing lacks and nothing is added. It's precise.
What about you? You brought something up that really just stood out to me. You mentioned Adolf Hitler. What about souls of men who are evil that we call monsters? What I mean, what is? Of course, I know that they're going through their own cycles of life, trying to get things right. But what becomes of souls like that? Are these wicked, evil souls that have been wicked from the beginning, that rebelled against God, that are doomed to continue throughout time and eternity living as wicked and evil people?
Well, you see, there was in Calabasas, where I am now, just minutes ago or whatever, hours, 2 hours ago, there was a murderer that came from Washington State. And Andrew something, I don't remember his name. But anyway, and he was circulating here around this area where I live. And they were warning all the people to be careful, because this man has a machete and a knife, and they killed already people in Washington just a few days ago. So, to my relief and chagrin, he was caught just 2 hours ago by the police. So, first of all, he has to answer here, the police and our judgment here, but then he has to answer the judgment to God, which is the most important. So, I guess, like Hitler, they cannot come here, I mean, directly and incarnate as an angel of love, because they're not. They have to learn to grow up in maturity, because they may have intelligence. That's what I want to say. The IQ, the intelligence, is fine, but there are three components to our divine intelligence and to divine intelligence, and the other two are understanding and wisdom. So that you have to acquire through many maturing experiences. It could be in a few lives, it could be in a lot of lives. For instance, I found 26 of my own lives, past lives, through hypnosis and through just remembering and then confirming. So I wrote a book on that too, but I don't share everything, because people are not all of them ready, but some of them are, and I share with them. But like, for instance, I was Paul Byrne in a previous life. I was a director of at MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, and the FBI facial recognition, which is one of the methods I compare, and match lifetimes. Is that so? Through FBI facial recognition, you can see that I have the highest probability that I could be Paul Byrne. And Valerie, my lady that I mentioned before, Jean Harlow.
And you actually have you've really put that
And
together
I
all.
was a Jew then too. And, and she is a Catholic. She's a Catholic, Valerie.
Are
Okay.
you were you trying to put that into a screenplay?
Yeah, that's what I said. I wrote it in the screenplay because I didn't think to put it in the book in the beginning. My memory as a child was that, but then it occurred to me. Yeah, I had it. I was my father, and I was with my father, and this is the experience. So I guess, yeah.
That's amazing. I can't and I know we've kind of already run out of time now. Let's see. I was wondering, Joshua, do you have another question you had for him?
you know, there's a lot of things, and we'll have to pick up next time you come back on, because I could sit and listen to him talk all night. He just fascinates me. I mean, he's just amazing. Um, I
You're
wanted
amazing too, Dr. Joshua. You remember all the scriptures.
Well, I wanted to get into the mechanics of regression. For those that are unfamiliar, can you walk us maybe quickly, step by step, through what happens during a past life regression session?
Sure, sure. First of all, I use what I would show to the doctors on the 20th of this month at Cedar Sinai. I use, if you want to look, and whoever wants to look at my web page, which is um, adrianfinkelstein.com, or the Facebook page, you can find out there my video uh, with the Institute for Motivational Hypnosis in Los Angeles, which is the biggest institute of hypnosis here, and probably in the country. And I have a 12 minutes, 45 seconds tape about hypnosis and past life regression. Number two, there are two of them. Number two shows how I hypnotize a person to save time. Because if you do the old methods of hypnosis that takes an hour to induce, then you're left with nothing to do therapy. So, so it just induced. So I do it in a fraction of a second, and they are the deepest, paradoxically. And when they are deepest, there was a lady there in the video, you'll see. And I was a little bit older. No, I was younger. But anyway, you'll see there. But
That's great.
the-
I've been sharing all the links on the link on the feed, and so I have your website just now shared that too.
yeah, yeah. So I'll show them to the doctors, but people can find it, and I mentioned. So, but to say it, I do instant hypnosis, so I gain time. So that is again time and money. So then I go into deepening the trance if necessary, but it's not that necessary. And then uh, people, for some reason, they come into a state that, like you'll see in this video, uh, I really pain this girl on the arm by, how you call this? And you do
Pinching,
this pinching,
pinching.
yeah, very hard. And I showed it, and she was in hypnotic anesthesia because she was deep. So that was a test to show that she was deep. And the lady that interviewed me, Lisa Machenberg, observed that. So anyway, and then when she came out of the trance, I did it again, and she said, "Ah, it hurt." So that's a test. But anyway, and then I continue and I say, well, there are different scenarios that I can present. Like there's a big gate that is opening gradually, and you're going in, you're stepping. Another step and another step, another step, and another three steps, you'll be there. And you'll be in another life at another time, in another place, in another body in which you were before. And you will clearly let the senses flow in freely, and everything that is coming, just when it comes, just report it to me, just tell me what's happening next and what's happening next, and that's the way I continue. And if they are in a deep trance, they can do it, but if they're not, we can't. Then people come to you sometimes says, well, I cannot enter a hypnotic trance. As a matter of fact, because you don't pass the conscious mind, and the conscious and the ego, and that's what stops it. But if you do it fast, you say sleep. The subconscious is targeted, and the conscious
Oh,
doesn't have time or the ego to intervene. That's
right.
the mechanism.
Can
Wow.
you do this over the phone or always have to be in person?
Um, it has to be in person if you want to do this with, they place the hand on mine, and I tell them to press hard as they can, as they look into my eyes. But I don't look into there because I can get hypnotized myself. So they look into mine, and then I said, okay, I'll count to three. At the three, you press hard. One, your eyes and eyelids are getting drowsy and heavy and sleepy. And I don't want to say, I don't want to hypnotize people. But
You don't want to
anyway,
hypnotize us on
the
TV.
moment they, yeah. But then, then I say, three, press hard. And then I retract silently the hand and I say, sleep. And it goes straight to the subconscious. And they go like that. The head is falling down.
Well, wouldn't it be neat if you could teach people that? You don't really teach people that, do you?
Oh, I taught a lot of people.
But
I
not
taught
like
in the
a
medical school. I taught in the residence, the psychiatric residence at UCLA.
wow. Well, if we are ever together in a physical form, I would like to be have a hypnotic session with you. I would. I would like to have a past
Why
life
not? Why
regression
not?
session.
Sure.
You know, the college you mentioned that teaches hypnotherapy, that's the school that I've been conversing with. And that's where I plan on possibly going to do my studies.
Uh-huh.
So, and you get certified. They teach you how to do it as a practice. They teach you how to set up your business and everything too. So that's pretty fascinating. And what
It is fascinating, I'll tell you that.
I was thinking this, and I know we ain't got much time, but there's a new type of certification that I'm getting ready to get. It's EMDR therapy, which was created back in what was it 1980 in the 1980s by Francine Shapiro, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Now, what's the difference in that and hypnotherapy?
I run away from methods that are very regimented because that takes away the spontaneity of getting into the subconscious. The subconscious is not an intellect. I mean, it's a 3.5 year old. It's like a child. You
Right.
have to be spontaneous. You have to play a game with it and play the game that they like, not you like. So, and you have a good game then. Because if you go to a 3 year old and you say there's a toy, you don't say, I want to play with this toy. No, you ask the 3 year old to tell you what he likes to play, if he wants to play with you a game and which game. And the child will tell you, and then you play.
That's so great. That's a great answer. Dr. Adrian, thank you so much. And we just want Bishop Joshua, we're gonna have to say that well, the ending here about, gosh, I'm just like, what am I doing? Okay. About the unseen realm. I want to make sure that everybody watches the unseen realm on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's also 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And these two amazing gentlemen here are part of the panel, along with Reverend Glenn Galtier. And you guys, I want to say that today, Desiree and I were able to interview Reverend Glenn, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. He just talked for 2 hours, really just sharing. And so the exciting thing to me is that I just believe that God set that up because he couldn't be on the shows here, right? So he couldn't be on the podcast. But how amazing was that to not let him be on the podcast? So we know that this is something we're going to do. We will interview all of you, and this will be a special segment, special things that we'll be able to do and share all of this in a really profound way. So I want to let people know we started that process. And Dr. Adrian, you did say that you have an event coming up very soon. Could you share again what that event was?
Well, this is an event about parapsychology and medicine, and it's the fourth time that I'm invited over the years to see the sign and to talk to the doctors, the ones that are interested. Where they have 2,000 doctors there, and it's in the big Harvey Morse auditorium of Cedar Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. And it'll be on the 20th of the month at from 6 to 7:30.
Wow. So, I mean, that's doctors, a lot of medical doctors. If you're watching, you can register probably and just go to that event specifically to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, this is amazing, and thank you so much for being here, Bishop
Thank
Joshua. Do
you.
you want to do an ending prayer?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Adrian, for taking time
Thank
out to
you.
be with us. And it's always an honor to have you. And
Oh,
it is a blessing, and my
honor is
life has been enriched to have met you. And, you know, till we meet again, right? Let's pray. I love this. Heavenly Father, creator of all that's seen and unseen, we come before you in awe of the mysteries that surround us. Tonight, as we explore the deep questions of life, the supernatural, and the realms beyond human understanding, we recognize that you alone are the source of all truth, and we thank you for the wisdom, insight, and discernment you've given us and our guest, and for the opportunity to seek understanding without losing sight of you, the author and finisher of faith. And as we close this time together, may your spirit continue to guide us into truth, anchor us in your word, and open our eyes to the wonders of your creation. Let the seeds of curiosity planted tonight grow into a deeper hunger for righteousness and a steadfast walk with you. We give you all the glory for what has been shared and all the hope for what is yet to come. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we pray. In the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching, and thank you to those that are going to watch in the future. We appreciate you. Be sure to check out our wonderful friend here, Dr. Adrian Finkelstein. We've got all the links below. You can find him easily through any of these links. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. And be sure to catch out all the shows on the W.E.B.B Radio Network.
That's right. We love you, Stan.
Yeah.
We love you, Dr. Adrian. Tell Joe.